Councillor Michael Downer.
Hi, Mr. Solder. Just, I suppose, a concern, or have you had any feedback from the operators read that 54% satisfied with the website, because a lot of investment went into that, I know out of the last funding round, and yet, you know, your campaigns for Gravit, and especially Spring and Gravit, pushed up the percentage on there. Is there a reason why the operators were satisfied with the website?
The website, every time you produce a new website, you've got to basically redo the search engine optimization to make sure that Google can find it and the traffic can find it. And when the website was launched, there was quite a lot of work to do at the beginning. And so what happened was there was a big gap in referrals from the website to operators, and that resulted in, you know, quite a bit of concern and criticism. So it's the transition from the old website to the new website took longer than certainly we expected.
So you're saying that when you do your next survey, that
it should be back to normal. Yeah.
Anything further from fellow councillors? I'm just going to be a little bit pedantic. maybe I shouldn't do, but I just want to brought it up a couple of times, but all the way through the presentation, your report to me, everybody keeps talking about the tourism industry, you know, and it's just something that has never sat well with me, and I just wonder, and I can only ask you to take it back to your board and ask if they would perhaps have a change of direction. I just don't like the word tourist industry. It just got strange connotations in my mind. And I've said it often, I said, if I invite you round for tea tonight and you knock on the door, you're a visitor, you know, and I welcome you into my house and I pour you a drink and I look after you. And I just like the word visitor industry, and I really want to see Taupo become the icon of the visitor industry in New Zealand, because at the end of the day, I firmly believe that most of the Taupo district relies predominantly on Kiwis inbound, whereas Rotorua and Queenstown are very tourist. And I like the word visitor industry, and I just ask you if you could go back to the board and ask them wherever they write this word tourist industry all the time, they change it to the visitor industry, because I think it has a more welcoming and warm feeling to it. But that's a little bit of pedantism.
Oh, look, I completely accept that. And you're right in that Taupo is highly dependent on its domestic market, and particularly dependent on its neighbours for its visitors.
Which to me are visitors, not tourists.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
anyway, if there's no further questions,
just on the you know, the rebranding of Central Park or the Rotorua Airport, have we got any you know, data to show how much we're getting from the Australian market, or whether it has decreased or increased over the years? Well, that was a real big campaign that got changed, you know, because we all kind of agreed that Central Park, and it branded us within that as well. Did we get much out of it?
I think the short answer would be no, and the reason for that is you are getting 2 flights a week. It's around 6,000 seats. As I understand, about half of those are Kiwis, and even for the conventions and incentives business, for which it would be perfect, the timing is wrong, because they come in on a Tuesday and fly out on a Wednesday or whatever it is. You can't actually have a block convention for it. So my response to that would be, we get about 700,000 Australian visitors to Auckland Airport, and possibly something like 3,000 or 4,000 if we're lucky, Australian visitors through the Rotorua Airport, and therefore our biggest pipeline of Australian visitors would be Auckland.
I would have to concur with that. It's very sad that the very people that opposed the resource consent to turn Rotorua into a trans-Tasman airport, not a trans-Tasman, were the very people that then came to the table and became the airline of choice, and I would say constrained the airport growth by simply having flights in on a Tuesday to Wednesday and flights out on a Saturday. And anybody normally going to Australia for events like Bathurst or anything like that want to normally go out on a Thursday, Friday, come home on a Monday and Tuesday. So that is that timetable has perhaps restricted that growth. But I do have faith. A personal friend of mine is the chairman of the Rotorua Airport Committee, Mr. Ray Cook, working on that at the moment. They're trying to get Air New Zealand to change their dates and open up Melbourne and Sydney. So Melbourne and Brisbane. So one can only hope and pray and hope, because it would service this district far better if those times were rescheduled to a more ideal time. Especially being only 50 minutes away and having free car parking, we can all jump across the Tasman and visit our neighbours. Councillor Henderson.
Thanks for the presentation. I've got a couple of questions. They're probably not the easiest ones to answer. I recognise you work in a difficult operating environment in that. But in terms of the KPIs here, there's 9, and I was having a look at them, and it appears 4 have been met, 5 have been missed. The average miss in terms of the metric is about 40%. So I'd just be keen to hear what your comments on those might be. And the other one was a more specific question related to, I see under operating expenditure, there's $266,000 for consultants and professional fees. I was just curious what the bulk of that might be for, if you could break it down a bit.
I'll answer the last one first. The majority of that is around website management and maintenance. Other than that, there's a whole range of elements in terms of design, campaign, collateral development and so forth, but that's the bulk of it. To your first question, yes, I'd agree. We did the 3-year statement of intent with some goals that and was set at a time prior to the European sort of meltdown or crisis. So I think the prevailing thoughts of the time were that we were over the global financial crisis and we were on a trajectory of recovery, and essentially that was the environment that we were thinking we were heading into at the time those goals were set, and obviously that operating environment has not turned out, and so if we were to do it again today, we would probably be much more conservative about what we could expect by way of growth.
Councillor Kirk?
Yes, thank you. I just had a couple of questions about operating expenditure as well, just sort of under staff-related expenses and then under all other expenses, what type of expenses are within those 2 categories?
Well, the staff costs are all of the staff costs of both the eyesights and the White House staff, so that's all staffing costs. And I'm sorry, I'd have to come back to you on the other operating expenses.
Thank you.
Just a quick one. We're excited about your new move. You are. When do you expect to be installed?
The target date for that is the start of February next year.
Further questions, Councillors? Councillor William?
Yes, thank you for your presentation. I guess an ongoing point has been the amount of resources that's gone into the website as a percentage of your total OPEX. Well, is there any way to address that, or do you see that sort of level of spend is going to continue? And I guess the other one is the eyesight, looking at the cost benefit of those two budget items.
The website is a growing channel of effectively communication, distribution, and really connection, particularly in the social media space. I'm in the process of going through the budget line by line, and there are a couple of areas in that segment of web contracts and so forth that I want to have a closer look at, and I'll certainly be, if I don't achieve it while I'm here, it'll certainly be on the agenda for the new GM to look very closely at. So I'm expecting either some of that activity to be brought in-house or a reconsideration of how we deliver some of those services.
But you must, I guess, acknowledge that it is for any company the size of or any entity the size of yours, that is a pretty large investment.
Oh, absolutely. Then again, DJLT is, one of its principal roles are marketing, and therefore it is a very important channel for the present time.
And with regards to the eyesights, do you see any infrastructure or realigning as far as getting more industry contribution for funding?
I think the ability to contribute more, particularly into the eyesight space, is somewhat limited. We have had some preliminary discussions about how we bundle a marketing package for operators, including more eyesight presence. But at this stage, we do need to have a pretty fundamental look at the eyesights in the not too distant future. Can I comment on that?
Okay, Councillor Truman?
Yeah, and just as a comment, when you are looking at the eyesight, can you also include Mangakino and how that's going to fit into the
Mangakino?
Yeah.
We're aware of Mangakino's situation. We have had a bit of a discussion in terms of the enterprise activity that's going there, and I know we have, for example, provided some mock-ups in relation to road signage and also potentially a caravan with some marketing in terms of addressing the seasonal nature and trying to get more exposure there.
All right, well, thank you very much, Mr. Salter. There is